Dakota Coburn, thank you again for being on. Appreciate it. Super stoked to have you on a second time.
Heck yeah.
Because from last year to now, you've elevated greatly, and I'm super excited to hear how you did that. 25 deals to 46 or 45?
46 and 50 if you count all my half deals as actual transactions.
Okay. Yeah. Still amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I wanted to basically kind of pick up off last year.
Yeah.
You know, through 2024, your systems, your processes, what you did differently, what changed, mindset, all that stuff. Time blocking, I'm sure, schedules. You know, how you what you did, what you changed to go from 25 to 50, really, to double your business, you know, in a year. And yeah, so if you just want to kind of start from the beginning, I guess, 2024 up until now.
Yeah. So last time we talked was spring of last year, of 2024.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of a broken leg, so that was fun.
Yeah, I drove you around to your showings for a
Yeah,
bit.
that's right. That's right. The beginning of 2024 was actually a pretty slow start. I think I closed 0 deals in January. And so to do what I did without closing any in January feels pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I think so much of success from last year was a lot of work in 2023.
Okay.
So much of it was leads that, to build a pipeline properly, you're always looking at 6 to 12 months out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because anything that wants to close in 3 months or less is kind of a fluke, and it's kind of lucky. If you get a lead that's like, hey, I need to buy a house tomorrow, and you're hustling, yeah, those ones pay the bills. But the building of the pipeline for the long haul is really where good agents thrive, and making sure that you're keeping all those people in your system, right? So I look at it and I actually try to think back, how did I do that much? How was I that successful? And where did all these leads come from? And I would look back on it and probably say at least a third of them came from work done in 2023, or even prior to that, 2022, 2023, and as well as just networking and building that database of people that I was regularly connecting with. But so much of just my fundamental business for last year, for 2024, came from a lot of really hard work in 2023, putting all these places or systems in place, and different lead gen sources. Looking back on it, I think, and I don't have it in front of me, and I probably should have for this, but I think I had 6 or 7 different places where I would say my business came from in 2024.
Okay.
And then a good chunk of it just came from getting listings. I put a lot of weight into getting listings last year as opposed to in 2023. I think I did, I was 12 of my 26 were listings as opposed to buyers. So a little less than half. And I think last year was pretty close to 50-50. I don't have my numbers in front of me. But so many of my buyer clients last year came from just having my sign in the yard and getting phone calls from people that were looking for the house. And then I went and worked with them as a buyer. So, just the emphasis alone on putting that weight into getting more listings and making sure my sign's in the yard as many places as I possibly could.
So when you say your sign's in the yard is at your listing?
At my listing,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, getting those phone calls directly to seller or to the listing agent.
Yeah, so you get both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the time I actually didn't get both sides. I didn't sell that house to that person that called me. But we went and found something else.
Okay, they might have. Oh, they didn't have an agent if you're looking for something else.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I had more success in 2024 from unassisted open houses for people coming to look that didn't have agents.
Okay. Would you say that was probably
10x?
Really?
In 2022, 2023, if I held an open house, I never had opportunities where people were coming in unassisted. And in 2024, 80% of the people coming to my open houses were unassisted.
Yeah. Well, here I think to kind of uncover why that why from 2022 to 2024 you still had those clients. Follow up, I imagine.
Yeah.
Maintaining contact, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah. So that was really like circling back around. That was so much of my business last year was just opportunities from 2022 and 2023 that you just keep them in your pipeline and you just follow up. And I said this last time on the podcast is like you just keep following up until you're annoying. Like, and I think that's really what it took this year is just staying in front of those people. And that's kind of my number one emphasis point going into 2025 is now I've hired an assistant and I've started a team and I've changed brokerages, all in hopes to once again double my business, to go from 50 sales to 100. And I know I can't do that myself. I like physically, like 50 sales was hard as it was to still have a family and have a life. To then go, okay, well, I want to double my business. How do I do that? Well, I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, I need better systems. I need better tracking. I need better follow-up. So I hired an assistant to help me track everything and to constantly be in front of not only the new leads I have, but also client retention is kind of, because it worked so well last year, my client retention level, I want to just double going into 2025 and beyond and figure out, how do I get more from the almost 100 transactions I've done in the last 2.5 years. So where do I push more into better referrals? Because that's one I didn't have a lot of last year. I didn't have a lot of client referrals.
Okay.
I had a few. I had probably 4 or 5 of my closings last year were from past client or sphere referrals, whatever you'd call that.
What was your biggest lead gen source or your biggest lead source for 24?
A combination of Realtor and Zillow leads.
Okay.
OpCity, really. I think I closed 7 or 8 from OpCity. I think 4 or 5 from Zillow. And then, really, I guess on the in general, if you kind of captured that whole thing of like paid online leads, Realtor, Zillow, OpCity, and counted all that as like one bucket because they're kind of all the same.
Yeah, same.
That was half of my business.
Yeah. Okay. Would you recommend like a newer agent get into that? Because these were leads that was it your own, paying your own, or also from the
both?
Both?
A combination of both. So
Okay.
I mean, so much of it was working through the referral leads through the office through when I was with Realty One. And that program was great for me to get going, but I like OpCity. So I mean, OpCity is huge for me, even though I'm trying to get away from it because it's just so expensive to pay it out. But at the same time, it doesn't cost me anything. So now I put
Except 40% of your commission.
Exactly, except 40% of my commission. So in the end of the day, yes, it cost me a lot. And so when you look at my sales versus what I took home, it's a lot less than maybe somebody else that sold 50 houses, depending on how. But at the same time, it's money I wouldn't have had otherwise. It's leads I wouldn't have had. So, we good?
Yeah, I don't know. The red turned off on that one and that one, but it seems to still be working.
Okay.
So, whatever.
So I'm putting a lot more emphasis this year on direct paid leads as opposed to trying to pay out referrals just because I hate giving up half my commission.
Yeah, that's not fun.
It's just not fun. So I'm putting more emphasis on Facebook leads, on Google leads, and direct paid Realtor.com leads as opposed to referral.
Yeah,
referral
that
based.
big one Amy and I had that unfortunately didn't close, like almost $4 million. Giving away 40% of that commission's unreal.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we didn't have to do that. But unfortunately, we didn't have to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when you have a big, a high-priced home that you're trying to sell, I mean that, that 35-40% can hurt. But you wouldn't have had it otherwise. So
Exactly.
it's never how you look at it.
If you always look at it that way, that it's a lead that otherwise I wouldn't have had,
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times, at least last year, actually, or maybe not 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, I've gotten other business from that business.
Yeah, I mean that's where the focal point I think is. Okay, I got to pay 40%, but they're gonna if I do a good job, they're gonna refer to friends, family,
Yep.
what have you. You know,
Yeah.
so like that's where the money is, so to speak.
Yeah, it really is, and that's like a a big focal point last year was like, sure, I'll take every lead I get because if it gives me an opportunity to put my sign in the yard or get in front of more people, then I paid 40% here once, but I got 2 new clients over here that I paid nothing. So like that was maybe eye-opening last year or maybe lucky. I don't know. We'll see if I can duplicate it again this year. And last year was either lucky or a lot of hard work. I don't know. I think a combination of both.
Okay, what's your focus for 2025? I know you switched brokerages. You hired that assistant. You have Brittany on your team. Do you plan on adding any more people, or are you like, okay, this is my team now? Now I'm going to focus more on systems and processes, and then once I have that down better, then I can add another person to the team.
Yeah, the focus right now is really making sure all the systems in place and very duplicatable, and figuring out how I can add as much value as possible to others and have them replicate what I'm doing, in so that I can get more agents in the team. The Coburn Collective is something that I want to grow not only in New Hampshire but eventually in Colorado as well as I transition out there.
Okay.
So the goal really for this year is at least 2 more agents in New Hampshire working in the Coburn Collective New Hampshire, and then eventually in Colorado growing, dual-sided. So,
Okay.
so definitely it's agent attraction is a big one for me this year, but not right off the bat. It's a 6-month goal to have 2 more agents in the team within 6 months.
Okay. And you're going to Colorado in the fall of this year? Is that right?
Late summer, early
Late
fall.
summer. Okay.
Yeah.
So back here, obviously you're like kind of the team leader, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, not so to speak. You are. You are
Yeah.
the team leader. So when you go to Colorado, you're going to leave like a team leader here, or you kind of just kind of manage.
I'll continue to be team leader here, at least for another year or 2.
Okay.
And fly back and help my clients and help guide and
Oh, so you'll keep your license here too. Yeah, fly back and it'd be cool. Yeah, back and forth, I guess.
yeah. It's okay to spend a couple $100s to make a commission.
A few thousand, or
Yeah,
more.
yeah. So I continue to emphasize that because of my success, I have the knowledge and also the financial ability to grow the business where a lot of other agents might not. And it's expensive. Like I put a lot of money, 30-40% of my business always rolls back into lead generation and the growth of the brand and the business. So, a lot of agents can't afford to do that. And so that's where I really feel like I can help people, if they want to come on and learn and develop my systems. And I'm not looking for agents that don't know how to close deals, because like any good leader would say, like, I'll lead you to the water, but
Can't make you drink.
Yeah, I can't make you drink. Exactly. If you can't close deals, then you're not really a whole lot of good. But, there are some systems and processes I think I can teach people to get there. But really, I think the number one thing where I like to emphasize, where I work with Brittany a lot, is just the accountability piece. Just show up and do the work, because that's really, if I had a secret sauce, that's really the secret sauce for me, is just waking up every day and just putting the work in. I think if you put in the work and you make sure that you're actively getting out there and connecting with the people and keeping in touch, like circling back to the beginning of this conversation, if I wouldn't have just been putting in the work the last 2 years, all those people would have just gone and worked with someone else because they had to buy a house.
I think of why there's such a what's the word? Why a lot of agents get out of the business or don't last is because they can't think of, man, I'm going to have to work these clients for 2 years before I get a deal. I mean, it's not necessarily going to work like that. You get deals beforehand, but you're going to have to work these clients, 1,
And not
2
get paid.
year, 3 years and not get paid. and then anybody who stays in long enough knows it's bam, 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 just happens, because all those people, you nurtured all of them for that long, and now they're all ready to buy or sell.
Yeah.
So I think that's hard for people to have that foresight. Oh man, I can't work these people for 2 years. I'm not going to last.
For sure.
So once you have that mindset, then you're kind of done.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about too, like you talked about getting up and just doing the work. So what is it like? Take us through a day of Dakota Coburn working on his business.
Sure. It's a little different now with a 4-month-old at home.
Oh, congratulations again, by the way. Yeah.
And trying to like have that drive a little bit to put in that work now is different. So I really rely on my systems now more. But standard operating procedure for me really starts on Sunday. Getting a couple hours on Sunday to lay out my week and be like, what are the most important tasks for me to accomplish this week? Do I have closings? Do I have inspections? Do I have appraisals? Do I have actual appointments I physically have to be that are going to put money in my pocket? The money-making activities. And then finding that time, and I worked with a coach last year, well, pretty much all year. I worked an individual coach and then some coaching programs. And it's really just having that time blocking where you're saying, okay, sometime this week I need to spend X amount of hours based on however many calls you have to make to get your business to figure out when I'm going to actually call people and get new business. Because my goal every week is to write 4 offers. Because if I can write 4 offers, I'm going to get probably 1 accepted. That's just my conversion rate.
Is that what you've seen, like, for you personally? That's about what?
Tends to be what works, or just what converts. Is if I write 4, I typically can get 1 because on the other 3 I either get beat out, something didn't work out, whatever. Some negotiation didn't work. On a really good week, I get 4 out of 4, but that's doesn't always happen. My goal is always write 4, get 1 accepted. Because if I can close 1 deal a week, then that's 50 a year, right?
Yeah.
With 2 weeks off. So it's really like, all right, where am I scheduling my time? All right, so a day in my life is like I wake up, I hang out with my family.
What time do you get up?
I get up in between 5 and 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And I typically take my first hour to stretch or exercise and just wake up, have coffee, and then get the kids ready and the wife and make sure everyone's up and moving. At 8 o'clock, I really start my work day. Every once in a while, if I have really hard deadlines, I'll spend my first hour not exercising, which then I regret, and I spend it organizing, which happens a lot, probably once or twice a week. I'm spending that first hour just organizing my emails in my brain to focus on what's happening that week. Because when you close, I didn't close 1 deal a week. Some weeks I would close none, but then another week I'd close 5, right? On those weeks are really stressful.
For sure.
So it's like 8 o'clock hits, and then it's, all right, I'm going to spend 30 to 45 minutes just going through my email, making sure there's no deadlines or things.
Didn't miss anything.
Exactly. Yeah. What happened between 8 o'clock last night and 8 o'clock this morning?
Yeah.
Because it's, nobody sleeps in real estate. You get leads at freaking midnight at 1 o'clock. It's stupid.
Sleep? What is that?
Yeah, I know. What is sleep? Excuse me. And so the first 30 to 45 minutes, ideally, if I'm time blocking correctly, is just email catch up. And then after that, then I tend to spend probably 45 minutes just checking the market, seeing what's new. That was something my original broker taught me, is like every single morning and every single night, look at the MLS, see what new has hit the market. Because ideally, if you're busy, you have a couple active clients that need to buy right away. So those are the times where you have to prove your worth to those clients. They want you
to be able to, hey, what's available? Oh, this, and this.
Exactly. And if I get a phone call for a lead at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I've already looked at the market that morning, I'd be like, oh, yeah, great. I already know that house you're looking at. I looked at it this morning. Here's all the details.
Let me check. Yeah, not really.
Exactly. So on the mornings I miss that step, tends to really backlash in my entire week.
Okay.
And so I think that, for newer agents especially, that initial 30, 40 minutes, it doesn't take long, especially if you have your MLS set up correctly, to just see what's on the market and what's new. And I don't look in depth at any of them unless it hits for a client in my database. So out of 50 new listings that morning, I might look at 2, because very rarely are many more of them actual hits, because I look at most of the state. All right. So then after that, then I typically try to schedule an hour to 2 hour of client follow-up. If it is either people that, are last week I didn't check in with, did I get them set up on searches? Did I, how's your mother? Whatever. Trying to either call new leads or just following up with people I spoke to last week or yesterday or whatever that needs some interaction. And that's really kind of where the money makers are. Is that 2 hours of kind of client interactions. And then I tend to, obviously try to find some time to eat in the middle of the day. And then my afternoon, I try to leave open for going out and doing showings or getting out in front of people. And I try to pretty much have all of my minutia, my just computer or admin tasks done by noon, so that the afternoon is whatever it needs to be, and that's usually running out and doing showings and inspections and all that kind of stuff.
How do you deal with having a schedule like that and a discipline? Super helpful. A lot of the times, as you know, the day just goes sideways. Because of whatever issue, problem, maybe the baby's sick or whatever. So how do you deal with that and to get back on track after your whole day is just thrown sideways? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm really struggling / learning how to do now over the last couple months with the baby is 2+ days a week. I'm just dad, and so I have the baby with me, and based on her sleep schedule and whatever, it's kind of like I have a plan, and then it all goes sideways almost every single day now.
Well, let's rewind for agents who don't have kids.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a
Right.
special circumstance. Taking care of your family first and foremost, always. So let's rewind before you had the baby, and your day got thrown sideways. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, so I think for the majority of people, and even as I get back into the swing of my business, I think every single day I actually hope it goes sideways. I think every single day I'm actually trying to anticipate that I'm going to get a lead the night before, that I had a plan for 4 hours in the morning to get all my business stuff done, and then I get a lead and they're like, hey, I want to go see this house tomorrow morning at 9. I'm like, all right, well, they're scratch off my 3 hours because I'm in that hour drive over there, 30 minutes with the client, an hour drive back. All of a sudden, my morning's toast.
Yeah.
Happens every time. So rarely does my week pan out the way I want it to.
Yeah.
Almost never. And so really, and I kind of breached on this a little bit in our initial podcast last spring, is the daily activities are kind of meaningless as long as you look at it on a weekly basis. And the micromanaging, and I talked a little bit about this before, it's something I've really tried to focus on, just the micromanaging of your goals and little sprints. And so many people talk about this, a 90-day sprint of what are you trying to accomplish? And you know what you want to get to by the end of the year, but what am I trying to accomplish in the next 90 days? And how do I do that? And so every month I try to look at what my next 90 days look like. And how do I get that? What do I need to get done this week or this month to be able to stay within my goals? So I need to close, what is it? 12 a quarter, right? 4 deals a month, 12 a quarter. So how do I close 12 a quarter? And so going into February, right? I know I have 3 closing in February, but none in March. So my goal is always okay, well, I know I need to get 4 hours a week of phone calls done. So if my day gets thrown in a wrench tomorrow, then that means I need to find time somewhere in the rest of the week to fill the void of whatever I missed. And it's really the money-making activities. The little minutia of just running the business will get worked out when it gets worked out. And sometimes that's at 10 o'clock at night, and I can't,
Yeah.
And you're like hardly awake and you're trying to write an email or make a podcast. You're trying to make a video
Yeah.
to put on social media or something, and you're just struggling. And so those tend to be the days where the next morning I have to wake up and spend that first hour of my day getting caught up, as opposed to doing the extra, like it tends to fall to the next day and have to be like, okay, first thing in the morning, I have to focus on that hour I missed the day before because I got my, a wrench thrown in the plants. So I don't know, I kind of rambled there.
Do you think it would be easier so your wrench gets thrown in your plans, you're not able to complete X for the day. Obviously you want to make it up at some point, but there might be, where you can't. Now for me, that kind of like gives me anxiety and stresses me out. So sometimes I'm just like, forget it. I didn't get it done. I'll get it done some other maybe next week.
Yeah.
Unless there's something super important, obviously. But like, do you stress out and get anxiety when you don't finish the task that you wanted to do, or would you or do sometimes you just say,
Yeah, so it depends what the task is and how important it really is to me. If it's like something I wanted to do versus something I need to do. If it's something I need to do, then I definitely get anxious and I'm like, oh my God. And that's again like that pre-planning on Sunday of knowing what has to get done that week. Then my second most important check-in with myself is Thursday night. Because I know that Friday's a very wish-wash day for me, and I either can accomplish a lot or accomplish almost nothing on Fridays. Saturdays are kind of, I tend to be doing a lot of showings on Saturdays or open houses or like a very busy day, and then Sunday I try not to work at all. But like if I'm looking at Thursday night and I'm like, man, I haven't accomplished any of the things I set myself out on Sunday to do, then at that point I am either anxious or I'm like, okay, what actually had to happen? Like I give myself a lot of goals for each week and I'm like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. If I get to Thursday and like I'm like, man, I haven't accomplished, A through W. And I'm like, all right, X, Y, Z, like, all right. Well, really, I only ever give myself 10 things to do because you just can't accomplish that much, right? Really, it's like my top 5 if like I can get those done. So that's really like I feel your anxiety when you say like, God, all right, like I'm just gonna throw it in the muck, and that's when I really just try to prioritize. Like of the 5 or 10 things that I feel like I have to do each week, what can I still accomplish that I'm gonna feel good come Sunday, and what can I just push to next week? And probably most weeks, especially now, I tend to push 30 to 40% of my to-do list off on a weekly basis. But then if it didn't accomplish this week, it's all of a sudden priority number 1 for next week. So that's kind of how I manage that anxiety of accomplishments is if I know that it's not like, if it's within the confines of that 90-day window of I had to accomplish these goals or these tasks, to reach the goals, on a daily or weekly basis, like it's only so important as long as like the really important things aren't pushed off forever.
Right.
Because most of what we do, as is kind of just like you're kind of just running around, and you're like, you're going to showings, you're helping people, you're doing this and that. Okay, you post a video, you post a picture on Instagram, you make some calls, whatever. Like, there's only a few actual hours of a realtor's life on a weekly basis that really truly move the needle. And those are the ones that you kind of got to pay the most attention to.
Right. What was my next question? I just had it. Oh, how important is it for agents to treat their business like a business? And is that something you did better in 2024? Learned how to do better? What's your take on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still a work in progress for me, and it's why I hired an assistant this year and developed a team. And last year I hired a tax accountant services that pretty much manages all of my bookkeeping and all of that stuff. And this year, my assistant's really going to kind of take on so much of that, and it's like kind of an administrative assistant. Like I want them to do all of it because I want to build it as a business, right? Like just one agent running around being an agent is not really building a business. So the importance of that, and I saw it last year, like even though I say that I probably couldn't really do more than 50 by myself, I probably easily could have done 75 if I was a little more organized, a little better at follow up, a little better on not letting leads slip between the cracks, a little bit better at that organization piece. And so the importance of treating your business like a business, waking up every day, clocking in, like knowing what you're going to do from whatever your hours are going to be, if it's 8 to 4, 8 to 5, know when to cut it off too. Like I got really good last year at just stopping at 5, 6 o'clock, like just shutting it off. And if I had time, like if we were just sitting around watching TV in the evening, I would work a little bit, but I would try not to. And it helps because the next day you feel more recharged. You feel more like, okay, like I have a life. Like my whole life is not just, where's my next deal coming from? Where's my next client coming from? And that's very hard as a new agent. My first year, every single night was like putting stamps on postcards, and trying to find that next deal because, it's stressful. And so I think like knowing to check out and treating, like no one running a business works 24/7 like a realtor does.
Unless you're Elon Musk.
Right. But you still every good entrepreneur out there and business leader and all these influencers are all still talking about the importance of your time management and setting your schedule and not letting your schedule run you running your schedule or whatever that saying is.
What was it? I listened to a Massive Agent podcast. Was it Dustin Brome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about that, similar, saying you have to don't create you around your business around you, and having that balance.
Yeah, he talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
I think, and so many other people do too that I listen to, is like focusing on just scheduling the time. Like if you want to, have that time with your kid or the date night with your wife or whatever, like putting that stuff on your calendar. And I don't do it very well, but I still make a point now where it's like, in the evening, you just put your phone away and, it's not the end of the world. Everyone can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, that was something I had to, it took me a while, even sometimes still, I'm like, what if a lead calls me and it's a good one?
Yeah.
What if they want to buy or sell a $2 million house? I'll miss it. It's like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. But I think it's really important, obviously, to, give that time back to your family, friends, wife, kids, because they don't always want to see you work. What's the saying is, they're not going to remember how much money you made. They're going to remember how much time you didn't spend with them.
Yeah. For sure. I just saw that one again yesterday.
Yeah. So I always think about that when I'm working my ass off and I'm just like up till 10, 11, midnight, just doing whatever, real estate related things. I remember that, like, my kids are not going to care about how much money I made.
Yeah, I don't.
Shit.
I'm so much better for everyone, my clients, myself, my family, if I just cut it off and I go to bed at 10. Like if I'm not in bed now at 10, 10:30, like that extra hour and a half that I used to spend on my business between 10 and 12, I haven't lost any productivity. Now I get better sleep. So I wake up more recharged for the next day. And I wasn't doing anything other than just meaningless tasks at those hours. It's not like I was calling clients.
You're right.
Right? So it wasn't money-making activities that I was ever doing. It was like, oh, God, did I perfect my seller guide or did I perfect this post I wanted to make? Like, none of it's important. Like, I give you that advice to all those people listening out there. Like, that little extra stuff that you're doing and, like, not sleeping and, like, stressing out, just let it go till the next day. Like, put it on the calendar for later, because that sleep is more important, and that feeling recharged and not feeling like every minute of your day as a realtor has to be consumed with stuff. So
yeah, and I've heard clients too say, or other people looking for, or have worked with a real estate agent. Oh, they were they didn't answer their phone after 5 or 6, or they didn't do this or that. And like they're humans too. They're people too.
Yeah.
Like we are people too. We have regular lives. Just because you're a client doesn't mean I have to work for you 24/7.
yeah,
And if I have a client that wants me to do that, then sayonara.
yeah.
You know.
No, saying no is the most important
Oh, wicked.
word.
Wicked. I just turned down a freaking almost $1 million listing today on the way here.
Yeah.
Because they, like, it's important to know your worth, what your value is, and what kind of value you bring to a transaction, bring to a client. And we just couldn't agree on what my value was worth. And, I said, well, we're firm. I said, well, I'm firm too, because X, Y, and Z. And I said, it doesn't work for you guys. Then we had a similar conversation last week, but they were like, well, I don't know. We don't know yet. We'll give you an answer next week. So today I was like, what did I say? I said, I take it you guys found a new realtor. And they said, no, we're doing this X, Y, and Z. And then I said, well, did you come to a decision on the commission? Oh, well, we're firm. And I said, well, I'm firm too. So,
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity, but we just can't do it.
Yeah. And that's, better off. I mean, you're just better off sometimes saying no and finding, like, I said a lot of yeses in the last couple of years just to get as much business as humanly possible. But the importance of no now for me is so important.
Yeah. I started realizing that about halfway through 2024, and I was dealing with some pretty interesting people. I actually fired my first client. Not just stopped working with a customer. I fired a client, which was super awkward.
Yeah.
But it had to be done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, because you just couldn't agree, or
It was
a time sucker?
that, and the client was unique, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to talk bad about clients. That's not what I do, but he was not a good fit. When you show someone exactly what they want, what they tell you they want,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep saying, no, I don't like it, there's a point where it's like, we're not on the same page here.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm losing money at this point.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you gotta say no and say sorry. I can refer you to another agent if you'd like.
Yeah.
But he wasn't interested in that. So.
Yeah, and you're better off, man.
Yeah. Good luck to you, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not the one. That's all. It's okay. It's okay. I think new agents need to. I wish I realized that sooner than later.
Yeah.
Every new agent wants the business. Yes. They want the transactions. They want the deals. You can have someone buying a manufactured home that's more of a pain in the ass than someone buying a $2 million house.
Most of the time.
And, it's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all, I think, like, in those first couple interactions with people, like, how much time is this person going to take from me, and how worth it is it? And that's really hard, because, like, my natural inherent like level one of, like, is just help people.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone calls me and they're like, oh man, I really need this, and I can tell it's going to be a tough one, it's hard. That's a hard, like, I just got one now that's way up north, and it's not an area I normally go. And it's going to be a tough one, and it's going to take more time, and I'm probably not going to make any money. But they're good people. And so it's not a no for me. It's just like I have to be very careful with every interaction, because now, and I think more people respect me actually over the last year since I've have put my hours on my signature, since I'm like, if people call me and I'm
I
like,
did that too. I actually
Yeah.
took that from you.
yeah, and I'm just like, I'm not available during these times. Like, I will do Sunday showings if it's absolutely necessary, and I do. But don't call me after 7 o'clock. You know, sometimes I get text messages and whatnot in the middle of the night, or leads in the middle of the night or whatever, and I will respond in the morning when I wake up, and I say, hey, great, like, I will be with you first thing after 8 o'clock. And I had more people respect me last year from just saying, okay, great. Like, I know you don't work Sunday. Would you mind doing this? Or when can you do it? Like, I had more people that respected that last year, I think, and this year than not. And so that importance of, but then circling back, I just kind of ramble a little bit. I think when I get those really tough clients, I have to just set the expectations right up front and be like, I'm not going to travel this far unless it's really important. So let's make sure that you have your ducks in a row. You know, let's make sure that you actually like this. Like, I'm way better now than I was. And again, this is really good advice for young agents, is like, have those conversations with your clients of like, what is really important to them. Like, paint the picture of that perfect house for them, and then also make sure that it's within the means of what they can buy. Because I think we just chase around and waste everyone's time. Like, you're wasting both realtors' time, you're wasting your clients' time if you're just chasing around to stuff that is not possible.
I have clients now where I could have swore they were going to fire me because they kept looking at houses. I was like, no, because of these reasons. And that's, they hire you for that.
Yeah.
You know, they might not like
You're
it.
the guide.
Yeah, like,
And be a guide.
do you want me to bring you to this house I know you can't buy with the loan product you're using?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. You can do this. You love it. But you'd have to use this loan product or do
Right.
this in order to get that house. And what your current situation is, you can't get it. I'm sorry, but,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to waste your time. You want me to bullshit you and waste your time?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You know, so that's how I kind of operate with my clients. And I told them no like 4 or 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're going to fire me. But no, they appreciate it,
Yeah.
you know, and knock on wood, we're closing in 12 days after
Congratulations,
a couple extensions. It's been a tricky one, if you will, but
I think the more you say no and kind of show your clients that you know what you're talking about and you're going to help guide them and you're looking out for their best interest, I think that makes a huge difference in their ability to trust you as their guide, because being a realtor is, you know, it's not just opening the door. So
definitely not. And some people think so.
yeah. And that's usually when I get myself in trouble, when I rush when I rush to a showing for somebody and I didn't look at it, and then all of a sudden we get there and it, you know, it's a tear down or something, and you didn't pay attention to the listing or whatever, and you know, that's where I get myself in trouble, when I rush. You know, if you just take the minute and, you know, do the job and don't just be a door opener, then you're 10 times more valuable, and you can get 10 times, you know, better relationships with clients if you guide them and not just.
Yeah. I had a thought earlier. I want to make sure I didn't skip it. But back to where you're saying people respect you for saying no and respecting your own time. I think people are going to respect you more when you respect yourself with your time, with your priorities. You say no because they might still work with you, you know, but they recognize that you have those qualities and attributes about yourself, and they know that, okay, well, if they're going to tell me, you know, these things, they're probably going to be a good agent when we go into negotiations. You know, he's not going to let somebody else walk all over me when he doesn't let me walk on him or her. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's one of the number one things that I learned in negotiating class is if I just let you walk all over me, how's that going to work when when we get into negotiations to buy or sell your house? And I think, you know, to the client you said you fired or whatever, or even this one today, you stand tough on what you believe in and what you know your worth is. And the people that are going to work with you are going to work with you.
I mean, I still did the math too, what they wanted to pay me, and I was like, oof. But I already put my foot down, and what am I doing? Negotiate against myself? No.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe they'll come back later and be like, all right, And I was recommended not by one but multiple people. Little backstory, kind of off topic, I guess. It was a guy in the SubTube Facebook group looking for someone to do a novation deal that not many agents in New Hampshire know how to do.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to charge a little bit of a premium for that. It's a complex deal. There's more people involved.
Yeah.
It's an hour away from me. So yeah, I'm going to charge you a premium for that. I think that's good value I'm providing, because you might go hire this agent who's cheaper.
Yeah.
Fucks the whole thing up because they have no idea how to operate this transaction.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, I think that's super important. How are we doing on time? We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. So give me 3 things that you think really elevated your business in 2024, and then give me 1 piece of advice to newer agents. Or 1, 2, 3
sure.
things.
Sure. I mean, the 3 things that elevated my business last year, I would say 1, just putting in the work always is number 1 for me. I think, show up and do the job. And as they say, like what is it? The money's in the follow-up, or
yeah.
Whatever that is. Like that played so true for me last year. And really my biggest thing, like I get so much business and win so many deals just from being a good person, and making great connections with the other realtors that I work with. I think that more often than not has proven to be maybe, one of the most successful things for me is just having great relationships with realtors all around the state and people wanting to work with me. And like just being good at communication and being good at like staying in touch and like getting complimented regularly from other agents, being like, "Hey Dakota, thanks for picking up your phone. Like, thanks for calling and talking to me about your offer," or whatever.
Some are just super stoked to hear from you, following up. "Oh yeah, how you doing, man?"
Yeah, giving feedback after a showing, giving feedback after an offer, calling people saying, "Hey, this is the worst phone call to call you and say your offer didn't get accepted." But like just having those good relationships. So that's like really one of my big things. And if I can say this to every realtor in the state, like, let's all, we all work together. We're all in here to help our clients and be better at providing a good service. And so many people, not to shit on other agents, but so many agents like don't pick up their phone. Like if you're trying to sell a house, pick up your phone. And they don't return phone calls. They don't follow up. They don't, you're just like left there waiting. And so you look like an ass trying to help a client. And it's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Like I'm literally just waiting for a call, like a pickup." So, I mean, that's like, just be a good communicator and be a good person.
Okay.
So
1 more.
That was a lot. Sorry. So, number 1 thing for me for 2025 would be just continuing to master the systems, really just like continuing to run my business as a business and being like super laser focused on organization and time management is like probably my number 1 goal every single year.
Okay.
Is being better at that. Okay.
So a good communicator, be a good person, master your systems and processes.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1 piece of advice to either this, 1 piece of advice to newer agents, or what you wish you knew in the beginning that you know now, that also another agent could take, with them.
Well, my piece of advice would just be like, just put yourself out there. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try things. I throw a lot of mud at the wall and kind of figure out what sticks, which is kind of a crazy strategy.
I like it. I do the same thing.
But I do. I throw a lot of mud at the wall. I'm not really afraid to like give something a try for a little while, see if it works. But I would honestly actually say my number one advice, even if you can't afford it, is hire a coach. Get a mentor, get somebody that is going to hold you accountable. Like not even if you feel like you know how to do the tasks, having that person that can just hold you accountable every week to push you in the right direction if you get off track is a game changer, 100% game changer. And right now I don't have a coach per se, but I have a couple mentors that are just helping, steer me in the right direction. And, that's the number one thing I always want to provide to the people I bring in on my team and other agents. I'm always trying to help just talk to other people and be like, hey, what are you doing this week? What are you doing to push your business forward or backwards or somewhere? Just to keep the ball rolling down the field, I think is the number one thing. And when you're a new agent and you don't know what to do, I think so many people get lost in waking up every day saying, what do I do?
That's what I did.
All right. Yeah. It is. Like, I think we talked about it at the last
I
podcast.
quit my government
it's
job.
like, what do you do every day to keep the ball rolling down the field? And, even if you don't think you can afford it, you can. You just have to budget for it. Like everything, you can afford anything as long as you figure out how to budget for it. Like, okay, a coach costs X. How many deals do I need to close to afford my coach? Or just maybe a coaching program where you're in a group.
Help you close those deals.
Yeah. Or if you can't afford a coach, find an agent. Find someone that, people say this all the time, like find an agent you look up to and see if you can provide them value. Maybe you go show houses for them or help them make phone calls or pick up their kids after school. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like find somebody that you want to mimic and call them and be like, hey, like, will you just call me every week or every month and make sure I'm doing the things I need to do? Because that's really all it takes.
Yeah, yeah.
I try to check in with people, and I have people not even in the industry that, once a quarter at least we're checking in on each other, just being like, how's it going? Like from a personal standpoint and a business.
Yeah, cool.
So
awesome. Yeah, so
that
let's
was
wrap it
a
up.
long-winded.
This is about to die on me.
Okay.
And yeah, man, I think that was a good conversation. I think a lot of value was provided there.
That was great.
Yeah. So sweet. Thank you. And we'll wrap it up.
Hell yeah, buddy.